Konrad and Konrad.
Okay, hi everybody. So this is going to be in English. I hope this is okay for you. I know how to speak Polish, but I know Russian. I don't know Russian sometimes. So, what I wanted to talk to you about today is how to take advantage of the economic crisis. It's here, so I thought about a theme that we would talk about to maybe make the economic crisis a little bit more positive. So we are going to talk about how to serve advertisement to your players. So as I was introduced, I'm from a company called Games Passport, more precisely from Media State. I will present the company a little bit later on. So just as an introduction, the economic crisis today is forcing the advertisers to rethink their investment strategy. Going online, going on internet is a very interesting medium for them, simply because the population is so wide, either in terms of numbers or gender and economic status. They can target a large number of people. The gaming market is changing. It's become a more social market. It's not reserved to the usual geeks, so it's attracting much more people, so the advertisers are very interested by this market. We'll look into that later on. So, what will be on our menu today? I'm going to do a spotlight on the advertisement market, so we understand that market a little bit more thoroughly. I'm going to then talk about the gaming market. Talk to you then about the different metrics you have to think about if you want to implement advertisement on your websites. And finally, we'll talk about the different types of advertisement. So, as I was mentioning, from a company called Media State, we've been on the market for 12 years. It's a French company, but we are based we have 2 locations in France, also 1 location in Belgium, in Brussels, in San Francisco in the US, and we just opened an office in Sao Paulo. We started off as a game developer, developing casual games, mostly lottery games, and these were 100% free, so monetized through advertisement. So in parallel, we developed a know-how in online marketing, monetizing these games through online advertisement. Little by little, we expanded. We're now present in over 12 European countries and in the US and Brazil. We also expanded our games portfolio, so going into more casual games, not only lotteries, but other casual games, typical like match 3 games, hidden object games, and also towards some microtransaction monetization models. Back 2 years ago, we decided that we're actually we have a better know-how in driving traffic to the games and monetizing them instead of actually developing them. So we've really concentrated for the last 2 years on online marketing and how to monetize games. So that's why I was thinking about talking to you about how to monetize your game through that leverage. So let's get into the subject here. So I was saying that online ad spending is an important vector now, an important factor for marketers. The online ad spending in 2011 was $70 billion worldwide. This figure will increase strongly up to 2016 to reach over $117 billion in spending. Now, the interesting about this figure is the next slide. This ad spending represents 17% of the total ad spendings by marketers. There will be a steady increase in that percentage for the next years, and by 2016, this percentage will represent 21%. So we're clearly seeing an increase in ad spendings online. So online is really a becoming a serious strategy for brands to drive traffic and to gain new clients. Now, what are the reasons behind these figures? Reason number one is the time spent online. Last month, figures I have from last month, worldwide, internet users spent over 24 hours, over a day surfing on the web. Different types of things. Social websites are of course on the top of the list, but surfing in general, they use over 1 day surfing on the net. If you look more in details in other figures, is that the number of subscribers, either fixed broadband subscriptions, are extremely high in the different countries. Now in Europe, it's actually in terms of percentage higher than the Americas. What I call the Americas is the US and Latin America. Okay, so we have 160 million people that have access to fixed broadband in Europe, 145 million in the Americas, and almost 600 million people worldwide have access to fixed broadband, which represents actually a very small share, but still is a very high figure. So it's 8.5% of the total population. However, what's interesting is that this percentage is low is because not everybody has access to fixed broadband, but much more people have actually access to mobile broadband. The percentage goes up to 17% of people have access to the internet. Almost 340 million in Europe, 290 in the Americas. So the percentage of people having access when outside of their homes or their offices is much higher. So the future also lies, it's very important to understand that mobile games, mobile advertising will gain importance in the next years. Now the reason number two why brands and marketers are going online is the possibility for them to monitor and to track their ad spendings. So they have a better understanding of their return on investments when going online. So they get access to metrics like click-through rates, which helps them to optimize their advertising campaigns. We can see this in the payment model. So last year, CPA, so cost per lead, cost per action, so the user doing any kind of action on the advertiser's web page, represented last year 62% and this year 64%. So as you can see, performance-based marketing represents the highest share. So there's really a preoccupation from the advertisers to have a clear view on the return on investment they make when investing online in advertising. Reason number three is the variety of ad formats that are that you can find online. So search, of course, and other types of ad formats. Search represents, though, the highest percentage of ad investments currently. This share will actually increase. Other types of advertisement, emailing, classified ads. But what's interesting for us here on the gaming market is the video ads and mobile ads. As you can see, it represents 6.6%. By the next 3 or 4 years, this percentage will go up to almost 10%. So by 2016, that will represent $11 billion of ad spendings. Mobile advertisement will go up to 5.6%, and that's almost $7 billion of ad spendings on mobile advertisements. So you can see where the focus will be in the next years. So, going back to the gaming market, why are advertisers then interested in the gaming market? Well, because a very simple fact is that the gaming market has changed. We're not in the typical geek market anymore. What's happening today is, of course, the games have become, let's say, casual and social. Everybody is playing, young and old, any kind of social status. So the market has broadened, the type of player has broadened, which is very interesting for the brands, because they can then target and reach the kind of consumer they are actually interested in. This is for the advertisers. Now, let's get back to the developer and game publishers that we are. Why is this interesting for us? A very simple fact is that if you look on online games, a very large part, that's almost everybody wants to play without paying. Nobody wants to pay. 95% do not want to pay when they play. In social game, that percentage increases up to 97% of the players do not want to pay. Mobile games, it's even higher. 98% of the players do not want to pay. What does this mean for our revenue? Well, very simple. In online games, the revenue generated from games, 53% is generated through advertisement. This percentage will increase to 64%. Social games, this percentage of advertisement, which is revenue generated from advertising, is very low. But the interesting part here is that it will also grow to 21%. Mobile games, I only have figures from last year, from January, but still very interesting figure is that in 6 months, the part of premium games increased from 39 to 65%. So as you can see, most of the players don't want to pay. The revenue generated from advertisements is increasing and very high, knowing that the market, the gaming market in 2010 was worth 43 billion and will be worth almost 60 billion in 2016. You can understand, you can see how important the advertisement is also for us game developers. I just wanted to add quickly some figures of the worldwide market size, just to let you have this to take home. Consoles is the biggest market, 22 billion, but it will decrease in the next years. PC Mac games will stay stable, around 2 billion. Online subscription games, so everything which has to do with online gaming will have a positive evolution for the next years. As you can see here, the biggest figures are, of course, within social games, going from 3.6 to 12 billion dollars in revenue, and mobile also strongly increasing. So this just for some information. So if you're now thinking about implementing advertisements on your website to drive your additional traffic, I wanted to present you with the different metrics you have to think about, and then also I'll be talking about the different types of advertisements and ad formats you can implement. There's, according to me, 3 main metrics. You have to know that I just came upon a very interesting figure. This is for France, but I'm sure it's not. It can be more or less applicable for the rest of the world. Is that you have 70% of the internet users never see the advertisement, or at least never see the total advertisement. So, and in parallel to this, it's logical to also understand that the people that see the advertisement in its the whole advertisement, of course, remember it better. The good news is that in the gaming market, on gaming websites, this percentage is much lower. So people actually tend to watch more, be more exposed, and more interested in the advertisements we serve them. So, what are the main metrics? Visibility. For the advertiser, visibility is an extremely important factor. You can see this, it's a very simple example, is the amount of money which is invested by brands, for example, during the World Cup or the Super Bowl in the US. The amount, the cost of a very short commercial is extremely high because visibility is such an important metric. For us game developers, this visibility translates into what we know as daily active users, monthly active users, members. So when you're actually trying to gain an advertisement or want to sell your advertisement space talk about these metrics. Talk about your users, who they are, how many they are, and so on. This is a very important metric for us developers. Give you an example on how we are doing it back home. What we decided is we have a very specific strategy for our games, is that we develop one dedicated website for each of our games. Now, why do we do this? It's because, contrary to gaming portals, we are trying to create a universe for our players. We're trying to make him concentrate on the game and what's around it. And the thing we're going to show him around it is the commercial we're showing him, the advertising we will be showing here is very minimal, but very qualitative. We're focusing, we want to really target the advertisement for the specific player. So we know his profile, we know what he likes, what he does on our website, so we can target these, and then of course we're going for quality instead of quantity. So this is in our specific example, just so that you see what can be done. If you take more generally, it's very, I took an example of a website, and you can see that the advertisement on this website, you can only see half of the advertisement, so the visibility here is limited. Okay, of course you can say that I have a 13-inch computer, and that's why you cannot see that advertisement. If you will see it on a bigger computer, you will see it. But you need to understand that these factors, you have to take these factors into account. You need to understand who your players are, and especially what they play on. In our case, we realized that most of our players are above 40-something, 45 years old, and they tend to use computers with web browsers that are outdated. What does this mean? It means that what they will see on their screen in most of the time has nothing to do what our developers see on their big Mac screens. So you need to take that into account when you develop your games and think about integrating your advertisement space. Think about who your players are, what they're using, so that you know that the advertisement you're going to be showing them actually is delivered, actually is visible. The second metric is exposure. Exposure time means that the advertisement is shown, the message gets through. Except if you're talking about popular brands, let's say McDonald's, that just want to show its logo to the biggest amount of people in a very short period of time. Exposure time means that it gets the message through. All brands, managers will talk to you about exposure time. It's a very important factor. So what does this mean for us? It's extremely important to know then, in that case, to understand how much time your players spend on your website, on your games. Okay? How much time they spend on the game itself and on the total website. Why? It's because then you can of course know what kind of advertisement you can show on your website and what kind of ad formats. Okay? It's great to show a video advertisement on your website, but do you have enough time to show it? Will your players actually see it? Maybe it's then better to go for an ad banner. We'll talk about the different ad formats a little bit later on, but think about the time they spend so that you can correlate this to the time they need to see the actual advertisement. And finally, it's of course drawing attention. Advertisers will naturally, by their mean, try to draw attention. Okay, they know what the techniques are to bring the consumers, what makes them look at their advertisement. They know this naturally. In your case, when you're managing your ad space, you need to think about what will draw their attention, and that depends on various factors. For example, the tendencies in a specific country, some seasonal factors. For example, currently on our website, what is working very well are dating advertisement. Why? Because summertime is coming up and people are thinking about dating again. Okay, so these kind of advertisements work well right now and monetize very well. Now, so we have the metrics. What other type of advertisements you can then use? I will be talking about 3 types of advertisements. You have around the game advertisements, in-game advertisements, and brand game advertisements. Okay. So, around game advertisements is that you have your game, and of course, the advertisements you will show is around the game, as the name says by itself. When we're talking about around game advertisements, we automatically have to talk about different ad formats. See a typical ad format here, which is the slide in. But I wanted to give this example here of a very specific ad format. Is usually when I speak to game developers, they're not familiar with this. It's called co-registration. It's less known ad format, but it's a very, very effective ad format. Co-registration wall is actually when a new member subscribes to the game. Before starting to play, we'll actually show him what's called the Courage Wall. Courage Wall is a banner with different options to subscribe to newsletters. So you're not showing any kind of actual advertisement here, you're just showing a newsletter, the possibility to subscribe to a newsletter. So the member isn't actually looking at the advertisement at this point. He doesn't want to look at the advertisement, he wants to start playing. But by subscribing to a newsletter, he will be looking at it afterwards because he will receive it in his mailbox. So what does it mean for us? It means that if it costs you, for example, €1 to buy a new player, to buy a member, to get a new member, and this member subscribes to, for example, I don't know, the Financial Times newsletter, Financial Times is paying you 10 cents, which means that your player actually costs you 90 cents. So very interesting ad format to think about when you implement ads. The second example I wanted to talk about is video ad formats. This is the strongest. This is the medium which is increasing, most increasing currently. Explanations are different, but typical video, the advantage of video is that it's mixing image and sound, so the message is getting through much easily. Other advantages is that, well, the video ad formats are getting popular also because of the access to broadband. You need to have fast access to the internet to be able to show videos. When a brand produces a video, it has so many means to distribute it on, not only your website, but on YouTube and other websites, that its initial production is actually quite low for the advertiser. So different reasons why this is a very popular medium, but think about video. If you have the opportunity, if you have what I talked about, the time to show video advertisement on your website, do it. The second type of advertisement is in-game advertisement. So here the brand adapts to your game, so it's within your game. Technically speaking, it's much more complicated and it requires a constant communication with the client, and the monetization models in there are quite complex. Different types, for example, can be that, here I gave the example of Dove within the Sims game on Facebook. So I can, for example, click on a Dove product and I will be redirected to their Facebook page, so they'll be collecting fans. You can have much more complex issues, like, for example, implement stores, so Dove can show their whole product line. You can have any kind of competitions. There's the different monetization models, but they're much more complicated and complex to implement, but generating great revenue for you. So something to evaluate. The last type of advertisement that I wanted to talk to you about is gamification. Probably heard about gamification a lot lately. When it comes to this type of gamification, I want to talk to you about is that you get a brand and you make a game out of it. This is interesting for both your clients and for you. Why? It's because your client, of course, will have a game out of their brand and will be able to inform your players about their product. For you as a game developer, it's very interesting because brands attract enormous amount of players. One of the more successful games we have come from well-known brands. We work a lot with TV shows, TV productions, like 1 vs. 100, Money Drop from Endemol, maybe you know these games. The advantage here is that you are actually driving a lot of new players without having to recruit them, so it's free recruitment for you. So as a game developer and publisher, this is interesting for you in that sense. So just to conclude, like I said, advertisers are going online. The investments are coming towards you because the gaming market has changed and the population is now so wide that it's interested, that the advertisers are, your clients could be very interested in investing in this market. Think about the metrics, think about the 3 metrics I talked about, and know that you have a lot of options, a lot of opportunities when it comes to ad formats and different types of advertisements. That concludes my presentation. If you have any specific questions, I'm very pleased to answer them. I usually don't get a lot of questions here in Israel because of the English, but
I have one. You mentioned mobile games. The buzzword of today is freemium. You mentioned it especially on mobile games. So there is a certain backlash now against ads in mobile games. Some say they waste screen space, waste traffic, waste battery. So what are the reasons for us to choose advertising over in-app purchases of virtual goods?
In mobile gaming?
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I'll talk to you about what everybody's telling me for years, is that the advertisement in mobile is a huge business and will be a huge business. The problem here is that I've heard that for the last 5 years or something like that. And the thing is that it's still to be shown that this will actually be a huge business. Now, when I talk to specialized companies, so people that do mobile advertisements, they're seeing an increase in their clients, and they actually have different techniques. Now, I'm not very familiar in mobile advertising that much, but they have different techniques to attract. They have different ad formats that are working better and better to be able to monetize these players. So, and I know that virtual goods are very huge in mobile, but still there is some space for advertisement there, and not everybody wants to pay for those virtual goods. So advertisement is use it as an additional option for you to monetize your mobile players. Of course, thinking about the cannibalization, right? You will have to evaluate if it's better for you to continue on virtual goods, or if you can serve them a little bit more a lot of advertisement. You need to evaluate that. But in any case, in all of these metrics I talked about and types of advertisement, do not hesitate to work with an advertisement online marketing or mobile marketing company because they will be able to advise you, they will be able to optimize your advertisement space, they will be able to give you some advice on these issues.
Thank you.
That's it.
The question is about the amount. What's the least amount of numbers to start advertising? So most companies won't work with small companies or with small groups of people who create a game and they have DAO, for example, 1,000 people.
Yeah.
So what's numbers to start? And what's budget? The smallest budget.
Well, the advantage we have is that we have a lot of players, millions of players. I wouldn't be able to tell you what's the minimal amount of players you need to have to be able to start putting on advertising. But I think the way you have to think about it is that, of course, the more players you have, the more advertisers you will attract, and especially you will be able to attract the bigger brands. But a huge amount, I don't have the exact percentage, but a very large amount of brands and advertisers online are actually small or medium companies that maybe not everybody knows about, but still need to advertise. And so what you need to do is that if you don't have that huge amount of players, well then try in any way to get in. You have a huge potential. You have a large client base that you can still target, even if you have a smaller amount of players. So I won't be able to tell you what's minimal. Just depending on the size, well, look at the size of these smaller internet companies. Work with, when working with affiliate networks, they can also, for example, help you out depending on the size of your company. Well, they will suggest you a group of websites that you could to whom you could drive traffic.
Thanks. Andrei Nechayev, Z-Man Incorporated. I have a question. For mobile games, in your opinion, what is the most profitable type of advertising? I mean, static banners or pop-ups or video advertising based on impressions. What is your opinion? Thank you.
It's actually very simple. The one that they're actually not allowing anymore, which is incentivized. So we talked about virtual goods. So incentivized are the ones with what we call offer walls. But I know there have been some changes there. But when people can buy their virtual goods through advertising, that's the best advertising that is working. But once again, we're more into online marketing, so mobile advertising is not my specialty, but I know that incentivizes
Thank you.
ads work the best.
Listen to this. Since Apple disallow installation traffic on iOS,
Yes.
what we should do on that platform?
What you should do about it?
About iOS.
I honestly, I don't know. What I would do is to develop HTML5 games and try to go through other type of browsers, through other type of than iOS. And yeah, iOS is they have their own advertisement formats, right? So you have to work with them. But that's why virtual goods are doing so well on iOS because there's not a lot of other options.
So, you know, sometimes advertisement is very annoying for user, for gamers. So the question is, what game developers should do to minimize the risks? How should we place the advertisement in the game?
Okay. I would say three things. Serve him the ad format that he likes. So currently what the user like are videos. That's why I mentioned so much about videos, because people like videos and they find them less intrusive. And usually videos are served as a preload. So people tend to psychologically say that in any case the game is loading, technically it needs to load, which is not always true. Technically needs to load, so I'm okay with waiting, and okay, this is interesting, I'm watching a video for a moment. So the ad format. The second thing you need to think about is what I talked about, is the attracting attention. Depending on the user you have, you need to serve in that advertisement. If very simple example, if I don't care about seeing advertisement for shampoos, for example. Okay, it's much more an advertisement you need to serve to your female audience. So knowing your audience and serving them this advertisement is very important. And behind this knowing, there are CRM tools and measuring tools. Okay, so we have, for example, in our case, we have 3 people working on only analyzing data on who our users are, which advertisement work. As I showed you the slide we just added that slide in 3 months ago because looking at the different tendencies, we thought this slide would be interesting to serve. And then, thirdly, in our case, for example, that's why we decided to go for a different strategy, which is one game, one website. Because we think, so this is our opinion, we're doing this for some time now, we think that if you take a game portal, there's so much information there that it's not always even about to be annoying. It's just the fact that the message doesn't come through. Okay? It becomes a Christmas tree and people, they don't see the advertisement.